All right, team. Today we're having a discussion about what we call the first day jitters and this idea of the kids being about to go to school and how anxious they get for that first day. And so I would love to hear either what you saw as a teacher for years or maybe what you experienced as a child, what that was like for you the first day of school being anxious.
As a child, I was painfully shy. I avoided eye contact. I avoided people at all costs. So anything new, any new beginning, new situation, room I had to walk into, lots of anxiety, lots of fears. I didn't think I belonged. I didn't think I would know anybody. I didn't think anybody would want to know me. So first day of school always brought on a lot of anxiety for me.
Yeah, how long do you think that would go on before things kind of got into a rhythm?
I don't know, a couple weeks, month. It just depended on if I had a friend in the classroom or maybe even the teacher, how they saw that and helped me through that. But it would take a little while.
Yeah. And what did you see teaching?
Well, one thing that I always started the year off with, there's this really cool book called First Day Jitters. And we would read that, and it's about a child. Well, you think it's about a child not wanting to go to school and all the things that they face. And it turns out that the child is actually the teacher. And so she's standing up in front of the whole class. And so she has experienced all of those feelings too, like nobody's going to like me. I don't know where I'm supposed to go because she was in a new school. And so just letting the children know that adults also have those things that, make them unsettled. Kind of helps kids know that, like she was saying, that you're not alone, that you do have, other people feel the same way.
Yeah, I know one thing that I'm worried about as a parent is I know that it's something that we've all gone through, and there's a lot of things like this where, I went through that as a kid, and most people have. So how do you talk to a kid about something like being anxious for a first day that is very normal, but at the same time, you don't want to minimize their feelings? So how can you talk to them in an empathetic way, but also a realistic way?
I think oftentimes we don't realize just how big the problem is to the child, and we want to dismiss it, and we want to say, oh, you'll be all right. But I think you need to be open and let them know that you understand their fear and that it is real. Even though it may not seem real to you, it's very real to them. And the more you can tell them what to expect, things that will happen and things that won't happen, that will kind of ease their mind and make them feel more comfortable. Always, if you can take them to school and let them see where they're going to be, show them their classroom, hopefully let them meet their teacher, but then other things that you take for granted, like where the bathrooms are, where's the cafeteria, where are the special classrooms, those things that kids might, be in a panic over, and it's something as simple as, I just need to know where I'm going to go if I need to go to the bathroom. So just setting those things up and trying to be proactive helps ease a lot of fears.
Yeah, so we can help them see that their feelings are real, but at the same time, some of these feelings of anxiety might not be so true. So how can we really show them what anxiety they have is real, something they can or should be worried about, and handle that in a healthy way, but also eliminate some of the lies that they're telling themselves that aren't a real worry?
I think part of that, just knowing that they're not alone. It's everybody's first day. They're all walking into the same brand new situation. So just letting them know that they're not alone.
And having that open dialogue. And I think it's also important that we as adults are careful what we say in earshot. Oftentimes it's like, oh my goodness, you're growing up. What am I going to do without you at school next year? Well, that can create some anxiety in itself, because I've had kids before crying because they're worried about their mom. My mom said she didn't know what she would do without me. I'm worried about mom at home. So just things that, we say that we don't realize are being picked up on, we can really be careful about saying those things.
I wonder what that anxiety looks like in children, because sometimes we'll see behaviors and, we'll discipline them or try to correct them, but we don't fully understand the root of that behavior, where it's coming from. So what is anxiety? Like, what does that look like? What can that look like?
Well, a lot of times it looks like meltdowns. We see kids going through behaviors like, oh my goodness, what is going on with this child? But there are several signs of anxiety that you can look for. Changes in eating and sleeping are big ones. And then clingy behavior. Kids who normally go out and play with other people will suddenly want to start clinging and hang on to you. The meltdowns or the tantrums. Behaviors like biting their nails or twirling their hair. Things like that pop up that, haven't been there before. Headaches, belly aches, crying, increased irritability. And then I think with older kids, isolation. Wanting to withdraw and be by themselves. Anytime you see signs like that, I used to, with my own kids, I would get frustrated whenever they would have these behaviors that were like out of the blue. And then once I realized there's anxiety behind that, and you get to the root cause and it really address that, rather than just disciplining the behavior, but actually get to the root of it. A lot of it lies within the anxiety that's there.
And for me, anxiety, if there are things that I don't have control over or I'm unsure of, then I'm going to control what I can. And it turns like crazy things that make no sense. But just trying to control the things that I can if there's all this other stuff happening around me that I can't control.
Well, my teenage daughter, when Emily got to be a teenager, I always knew when she was facing anxiety because she would move the furniture in her room. I mean, that was the thing she could control. So I would go in one day and her bed would be against the window, and the next day it would be against the wall. It's like, okay, something's going on. So yeah, what you were saying.
Yeah, so how can we, because parents are going to be able to change what happens at school. And if their kids are nervous because of school, they still got to go to school. So what could parents do in the home to help ease them back into the school or to limit that anxiety they have about it?
Routine is really important. We think that kids don't want routine because they kind of push back from it, but they really do thrive off of a routine of knowing what is coming, knowing what to expect. So things like the week before school, trying to get to bed a little bit earlier, having a morning routine of whatever that looks like with a devotion or a breakfast or, maybe just time on the couch, whatever that needs to look like for the child, but giving them something to expect, something constant that they can fall back on regardless of what is going to happen when they walk out the door.
And I'm real big on the night before having things planned out. Don't have to go looking for your shoes at a quarter after when you need to be out the door. Have your shoes and your backpack and, lunch, everything so that they know where that is. It's easy to grab and it'll just make everything, because in the mornings, most of the time, we're not at our best. And so if we can set us up for success the night before, that it goes a long way in helping.
Yeah, and definitely could tell having my daughter go to school last year for the first time on the mornings when we woke up a half hour before we're supposed to be dropped off at school, and we're rushing her through breakfast, rushing her through getting her clothes on. That's when she'd have a meltdown.
Right.
And that's when we don't have time for a meltdown.
Exactly.
This was probably on me. So what could even a morning routine look like before going to school?
Well, it's a set time to get up, the expectation that you will be up, and then whatever your child needs. Some of my kids needed more time to just sit before they were ready, so maybe they had to get up earlier. Or, sometimes kids wake up and they're ready to go, and so just make sure that whether it's breakfast, get dressed, make your bed, whatever you're going to do, breakfast, and be ready to be out the door at a certain time, and let them know that expectation, or even set a timer. Hey, we're going to leave in 5 minutes. Set the 5-minute timer, then they know they've got this amount of time to do whatever it is they want to do before they leave the house.
And I think knowing your child, like she said, each child is so different, but a lot of times for your visual learners, especially, if you can have like a checklist or a chart, this is what happens, and not just for morning time, but all the time, so that they can see what's coming up next, and so that they can know, kind of back to that control piece.
And when things don't go like we planned, like you were just talking about your morning, even empathizing in that, hey, I know this morning is hard. I know this isn't the way we wanted our morning to start, but this is where we are. So we gotta get there. And it won't be like this tomorrow, and you won't feel like this in an hour. We just gotta get through the next 30 minutes, and then we'll have our day started. So even empathizing in those stressful moments, I think is helpful.
And I know it's painful, but especially the younger kids, when they want to cling on and they want to parents want to say, okay, well, we'll just stay home another day or two and then we'll try it again. And you can't do that. You have to let them know this is a non-negotiable. You have to go to school. Everything is going to be okay. I'm going to drop you off, maybe walk them as far as you can, but then make that separation and just go. Because it's really, really hard. Once you give in, then they want to take more. And then that also, I think, feeds to the fact, well, maybe I do have something to be worried about if they are going to keep me from coming back here or whatever. So.
Yeah, so you guys have any other tips or advice on helping with that first day anxiety?
Well, I just think, not every kid has anxiety around this. Some kids, my oldest, had so much confidence. She could walk into a room of 60 people that she didn't know and feel like she owned the place or belonged or had a place. So not every kid is going to have this kind of anxiety or deal with these kind of things. So letting that child know, hey, not everyone feels as comfortable today as you do. Maybe that child can look for someone else who's struggling and be like, it's okay, we got this, I'm with you, So even encouraging the confident kids or the ones that, maybe don't have these anxieties to look out for somebody who is struggling.
And I think just be aware of signs of anxiety and address it. Don't just try to brush it away, but really, really address it. And then tell your child, hey, I have confidence in you. I believe that you can do this, and build them up, build up their esteem, and maybe even get together with somebody else that is going to be in their classroom so that they have a familiar face there. Definitely try to get a hold of the teacher. And coming from being a teacher, it is so helpful when a parent communicates to us, hey, my child's struggling today, even throughout the school year if you're having a rough time, because we can kind of step in and help understand the behavior, the reason behind the behavior. So that goes a long way.
Yeah. So to summarize everything, to help kids going back to school with anxiety, we got to be aware of where a kid is and empathize with them and have conversations about what's going on, try to eliminate whatever lies they're telling themselves, but also be affirming and helping them through things that are real. And then set them up to know as much as they can before they go, because they want to know everything that's going to happen before they get there. And create a routine that is normal, probably even before they go back to school. I would imagine my daughter's been sleeping in the last couple weeks more than she ever has, and so when she's going back to school, if that's the first morning she gets back up that early, it's going to be, we did set ourselves up for success.
Exactly.
So awesome. I think that's going to be a great help to the parents.